Today on Judge Porter.
Mr. Campbell, it shows here that you're suing Suncoast for the amount of $55,000.
They're not in the business of providing insurance. They're in the business of denying insurance. That's how they make their money. And it's horrible for the people who have to deal with it. Sick people, people who are trying to get back on their feet. And this is what we face.
We're here for case number 9113, Steven Campbell versus Suncoast Insurance Company. Good morning, Mr. Campbell.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Do we have a representative from Suncoast? Is there a representative from Suncoast Insurance Company here? Oh boy. Mr. Campbell, it shows here that you're suing Suncoast for the amount of $55,000. Am I reading that number correctly?
That's correct, Your Honor.
What's the story here, sir?
Well,
first off, I want to apologize. We did send a subpoena to Suncoast, and as you can see, they did not send a representative. So I want to apologize for that.
Which to me is not surprising.
It's not surprising
because they've disappeared countless times in my case.
Okay.
And it's a horrible thing to have to go through an illness. And you're working hard to recover, and you're doing well, and then you get hit with the stuff that they hit you with.
What
when
illness?
You're weak, when you're low, when you got no place to turn.
What illness are you suffering from, sir?
It was cancer. So I'm in remission,
Okay.
thank goodness, knock on wood. Doing better, feeling better, starting to get my strength back. I still have a little issue with neuropathy in my legs. I don't know whether that's from the chemo or inaction or what, but I'm working on it. I'm taking walks. I'm trying to do better. But what they're claiming is that this was a pre-existing condition, which is completely false. It was melanoma. I get checked every year. My father died of melanoma. My uncle, his brother died of melanoma. For 40 years, I've been going to dermatologists every year. They go head to toe. They look between the toes. They look places where I don't want to mention where they look. We're in court. They do a thorough screening. I go through this every single year.
When you were going to the doctor,
yeah,
for those visits, the insurance company you were using at that time was Suncoast?
Yes.
So when you went to your doctor, was this your PCP or was this your specialist at the time?
No, this is a dermatologist, a specialist.
Okay, so you're a specialist.
Yeah.
Okay. They knew that you, okay, let me back up.
Well, I can explain a little more.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I've had to become an expert. I never wanted to be an expert in this area, frankly, especially with family members who passed away.
Okay.
I tell my kids, I got 2 kids, I tell them, get screened every year because their mother had melanoma also. So we have it in the family. We're aware of it. We deal with it. I had a mole. Everybody's got moles. Everybody in the world's got moles. A mole is just the cells that give our bodies the pigment that we have. You have yours, I have mine. It's the same cells that create that pigment. And sometimes they clump together.
Okay.
That's a mole. It's nothing more than just too many of these cells in one spot. It is extremely rare for those moles to become cancerous. You do the easiest search on the internet, and you'll find that a mole typically does not lead to cancer. In very, very rare instances.
Okay, but in your case,
in my case,
it did.
It happened.
Now,
and the insurance company is trying to say it's a pre-existing condition. Everybody in the world with moles would have a pre-existing condition.
How long have you been with this insurance company?
8 years.
8 years. Okay, and when was the mole discovered by the specialist?
Last year, and I had the treatments. It was very costly.
So here's what I'm a little lost. So how did they equate that it was a pre-existing condition if you were with them for 8 years and this was discovered last year, that would mean that prior to you going to this insurance company, I'm sure they did medical tests and things of that nature, correct?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Prior to you signing up with this insurance company, you did some testing.
You get a physical.
And they didn't find anything then.
Yeah, no, of course not.
So
no.
how is it pre-existing now?
Well, I mean, this is the correspondence. This is the medical bills. This is their denials.
What did they give you as a reason for denial?
They said it was a pre-existing condition, and they were denying my claim because of a pre-existing condition. And I even appealed it, and they have an appeals process, and you get back a letter, your appeal's been denied. When did I get to go to appeal it?
But even though prior to signing with this insurance company and giving them their first payment, you had to go through a medical screening approved by them.
They send a doctor to the house to give the screening. Now, they don't go through every part of your body. But I have 40 years, Your Honor, 40 years of going to the dermatologist. And I point things out and they say, no, that's nothing. No, don't worry about that.
But what they're saying is that it's a pre-existing condition. If I'm hearing this correctly, they're saying it's a pre-exist. Let me see that where it says that they're denying that.
Right here.
Give it to my bailiff right here.
Yeah.
Let me see where they're saying they're denying it and what's the reason. Let me verify what, because I just want to. Give me a second to. That does say pre-existing. I'm lost because if it's pre-existing and they did a medical screening and they didn't catch this
bingo,
then basically what they're saying is we're going to deny your coverage because we missed something. That's basically what I'm hearing.
And here are all the pages of all the arguments I've tried to make to them. Letters from my doctor, letters from the hospital, articles that I provided to them proving that it's not
anything in those documents where they're saying that's going against what the doctors are saying.
They're not specific. They just say denied. That's all.
Okay.
You know, they're not in the business of providing insurance. They're in the business of denying insurance. That's how they make their money, and it's horrible for the people who have to deal with this. Sick people who are trying to get back on their feet. And this is what we face.
And I just want to verify.
And then they don't even come. Excuse me, Your Honor.
You paid every month? I didn't mean to interrupt. You paid every month?
Every month I pay my premium.
Okay. See, here's where I'm having a problem. My first problem is that I don't have a representative from Suncoast standing at that podium. We sent a subpoena and they've ignored it. Now, unfortunately, this is not the first time that we've sent a subpoena to Suncoast Insurance Company for them to send a representative. And it's always the same thing. They don't send anybody. It's almost like they don't care. And that's fine. Free country. If they don't care, I don't care. Okay? I am going to grant you your $55,000 that you requested.
Thank you.
I'm also going to award you $20,000 for emotional distress that this must cause. And what I'm also going to do is I am going to get in contact with the State Office of Insurance Regulation to find out what's going on with them. Because I don't understand if you're paying your premium every time, because I don't have anything here that says we're denying you because you didn't pay your premium.
Exactly.
They're saying we're denying you because you have a previous condition. And if they did a medical screening of you prior to joining their insurance company, they should have caught that. And they didn't. That is not your responsibility. That is their responsibility. Yeah. And I don't understand how a medical insurance company can feel comfortable denying people who need help. It's not like you could have went with another insurance company. You went with them. They have an obligation to you as a customer, as a paying customer, to fulfill the obligation that you said, hey, you know what? If I pay you guys this, can you provide me with this coverage? Absolutely. Where's your money? And then when push comes to shove and they say
they want the money.
They want the money, but they don't want to provide the service.
You know, Your Honor, I'm not a violent person. I don't think violence accomplishes anything. But from what I've been through, I can understand on some level
The frustration.
what's happening in society today when these people ignore their responsibility to us. Again and again, you hear the stories.
Well, like I said, I'm going to get in contact with the Insurance Regulation Board, and let's hope that they could do something. But for right now, what was the amount I said? You're going to get your money, $55,000 plus $20,000.
So grateful, Your
Okay,
Honor. Thank
sir.
you so much.
Jeff, can you give this back to him? And I will also be contacting Suncoast personally to find out what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay? This
Thank
case
you,
is
Your Honor.
adjourned.
Thank you. I can't express my gratitude enough to Judge Porter for his ruling today in my favor. I mean, this can maybe come to an end, and I won't have to deal with this insurance company anymore on this issue. Heaven knows what happens the next time. But they have a responsibility to us. We pay them. This is the service we pay them for. We shouldn't have to battle and fight to get the rights and the payments that are due to us. Why do they put us in that situation? It's a terrible thing to do to people. Maybe if they get dragged in court enough times, they'll start to recognize that and understand what they owe us. But for now, thank you so much, Judge Porter. Thank you for all you do for us in this community.